Welcome to World AIP, the channel dedicated to helping you implement the Autoimmune Protocol. I'm Stacy, certified AIP coach, and I put out new AIP recipe and inspiration videos every Thursday, so subscribe below if you haven't already. Today's video is baby step number 4 in my Baby Steps to AIP series. If you haven't seen baby steps 1 through 3, I will link to where you can view those below. And if going cold turkey is more your thing, I have a video on that too. I'll link below to that. In baby step 4, we're doing our first batch cook, and it's going to be a protein batch cook. It can all be frozen. I actually recommend that you freeze it all because in the next baby step, you're going to cook the rest of the things you need to finally get on AIP. You don't have to do this whole batch cook in one day. You can spread it out over as many days as you want to. It's up to you. However, it's most convenient with the time and the energy that you have. We're basically going to cook enough protein to have meals for 2 weeks. So I'm estimating that the average person will eat about 12 ounces of meat and fish a day. I personally eat 8 ounces a day and I do fine with that, and I lift weights. But just to make sure you get plenty of micronutrients and you're not hungry, I'll just say 12 ounces. You can scale down if you want, but let's just say you're going to have, and if you want to eat a pound, then be my guest if you have the money for that type of thing. You don't really have to like weigh it and worry about, oh, I had a pound of meat today and I should have only had X amount of ounces. No, it's not like that. There's no restrictions or requirements for that on AIP. I just like to use that for our meal prep simplicity. Why eat more than you have to when it's the most expensive part of the protocol? If you're eating 12 ounces of meat and fish a day, then that's going to equate to 5 1/4 pounds of meat a week. Let's even round up to 6 because it's better to have leftovers than not have enough. So okay, say you're going to eat 6 pounds of protein a week. Then we're going to be cooking 12 pounds of meat and fish. And you can do this a couple different ways. You could have 4 ounces, a 4-ounce portion, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or you could have a 6-ounce portion, lunch and dinner, because breakfast you had like a coconut, sweet potato bar or something. So to do this 12-pound protein batch cook, it's not as daunting as it sounds. I like to have a little variety. So I would suggest doing 4 different types of meat and fish. And because omega-3 to 6 fatty acid ratio is so important and you really want to minimize the omega-6s and maximize the omega-3s, your beef, your lamb, your bison, your wild salmon, shellfish, I would try to focus there. You could do 3 pounds of ground beef, 3 pounds of like some beautiful cut of beef or lamb that you put in the crock pot, 3 pounds of wild salmon, and then maybe 3 pounds of chicken, because people like chicken. It's versatile. I get it. 3 pounds of chicken. There's your 12 pounds. So you could space it out like that, or you could just do, 3 pounds of ground beef and 3 pounds of wild salmon. So what are you going to do with that meat? Okay, for the ground beef, you could make very simple meatballs. You don't need breadcrumbs and egg and all this nonsense to make meatballs. I think that came from way, way back in the day when they were trying to extend the meat and fill it up with bread and stuff. And then when you put all the bread in it, you needed the egg to bind all the bread. But no, man, you could just take the meatballs for real and like throw on a little salt, some kind of seasoning like the Primal Palette seasoning blend, or dump some oregano, basil, thyme, rosemary. It'll be delicious. It's very hard to mess this up. You could just get by with just the salt, literally. Meat is delicious. 1 teaspoon salt per pound of beef. So you could take your 3 pounds of ground beef, add 3 teaspoons of salt, and make meatballs and like bake them until they're done. Burger patties are easy too. Same deal. Just use the ground meat. You don't need a recipe. You don't even need any cooking knowledge. As far as the big hunk of beef brisket, beef chuck, beef anything, the tough cuts, the cheaper cuts, those are great for the crock pot. Recipe? Throw it in the crock pot. Add a cup or 2 of liquid of your choice. I like coconut milk, like a whole can of coconut milk. Delicious and delicious. Yeah, you can get fancy. Carrot, celery, onion, bay leaf, but you don't have to. I'm telling you. The meat and the liquid, easy. Don't need to know how to cook. And the same with your chicken. You take that chicken, take a whole chicken, take chicken breast, whatever, throw it in the crock pot with some liquid. The salmon, the wild salmon, you take your portions and you wrap it in that parchment paper that you bought in baby step 3, and you bake it at 320 degrees for 20 minutes in the oven. That's it. You take it out and it's gorgeous and it's perfectly cooked and that skin peels right off. Perfect. I would suggest at least doing 2 of these per batch cook. So you dump the beef and the liquid in the crock pot and you make your meatballs. Boom. Would that take an hour? Maybe, probably not that long. And then on your next batch cook, you dump the chicken in the crock pot with a little liquid and you make your, you wrap your salmon and you bake it. Boom. So easy, so fast. You could easily do this in one day. And then you could take your fish in the parchment paper, leave it in the parchment paper, stick it in a storage bag, freeze it. Now you have daily portions of protein for when you go on AIP. And you put the meatballs in the 8-ounce mason jars. The crock pot beef and tender chicken, store that in your 8-ounce mason jars and bam. I mean, now you have enough protein to last you for 2 weeks. And then when you're on AIP, once a day, you go in your freezer and say, okay, what am I gonna have for my protein source for breakfast or lunch or dinner? You pull them out and you thaw them overnight and the stuff freezes and thaws beautifully. Keep in mind, these don't have to be eaten in 2 weeks. They'll last in the freezer for a couple of months at least. Once you get on AIP and you want to start making fun recipes like an AIP shepherd's pie or some kind of soup or stew, that's fine. Isn't it a nice feeling to know that you have all this emergency backup though, that's like waiting for you for a week when you're busy or you're tired or you're stressed? Then you still want to make 2 weeks worth, trust me. Shellfish. It would be awesome if during this protein batch cook you could get a few dozen like little necks or mussels or oysters. Those are so nutrient dense and they're really good to include in your diet. And you can I have a video on how to make the cubes that you basically steam them till the clams or the oysters, they pop open, and then you just individually freeze them in ice cube trays. And now you can pop it into whatever you're eating. You can pop it into a stir fry, you can pop it into a soup. It's so healthy to have around. There's one other part to baby step 4, sauce. 2 different sauces I want you to make. I mean, you can buy them if you want, but those AIP sauces, they're great to have, but they do get pricey. But if you just want to buy a bottle of KC Naturals barbecue sauce or ketchup or no tomato sauce, fine, buy it. But I highly suggest you learn how to make it. It's not that hard and it will save you a lot of money and you can make big portions of it to have for a long time. Sauce is going to be your best friend on AIP because you can take any plain protein portion and any plain carb and veggie, and when you add a delicious tasty sauce, you have this amazing like magical meal that tastes wonderful. It's gonna make the difference between you being like, all I eat is sweet potatoes and hamburger patties, and wow, tonight I get to eat a burger with creamy ranch. You may have collected some dressing recipes on your Pinterest board, or you could go back to Pinterest and AIP sauce, AIP dressing, marinade, or to your Facebook groups, or if you have an AIP cookbook, or on my channel I have a queso cheese sauce, I'll link below. Very delicious. It does require you sourcing some green plantain, so if you can't find green plantain, my vinaigrettes are very easy and there are no specialty ingredients in them. I'm going to link below to my vinaigrettes. I have 3 different varieties I show you in that video, and they're great for like marinating meat, drizzling over a salad, tossing over your veggies. So I was on a search for easy AIP sauces to recommend you guys other than my own, and I was Googling, searching, and I found this one by Creative Melanie. She has a really awesome easy avocado dill ranch that I'm going to link to below. And it just looks like a really great beginner recipe, and who doesn't love ranch dressing? So basically, when your meat's in the crock pot and your burgers are baking or whatever, or set aside a separate day, and you don't have to limit yourself to 2 sauces. I mean, you can make as many as you want, or you can just make one that you're really gonna like and make a bunch of it and portion these out into, the 8-ounce mason jars. You just want to make a bunch. Make as much as you're gonna be using this. I would say you're probably gonna use like 4 to 8 ounces of sauce a day. At least that's about what I would use when I have delicious creamy sauce. That's what I go through. When I get lazy and I don't feel like making it, then it's a drizzle of oil, some salt and lime juice, and I get by. Set aside a sauce day and make up a few big batches of these. Portion them out and freeze them along with your protein stash. Maybe one day this weekend you could make 3 pounds of meatballs and 3 pounds of beef chuck, and then another day, you can make your 3 pounds of parchment cooked salmon and another 3-pound chicken in the crock pot. Maybe you could split up, make one sauce on one of those batch cooks and another sauce on the other, or just do a 3rd day with just sauce. However you wanna, do that. Bonus extra credit if you include liver with the ground beef recipe. I have a hidden liver scramble linked below. It is very delicious. You don't taste the liver. That's a bonus though. You can delve more into that as you're on AIP. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. Just get your protein batch cooked. Also bonus points if you make the clam cubes and the oyster cubes. But right now it's just about doing the batch cooking and making it taste good and seamless. And then you can add in, because you're going to want to add in your very nutrient dense foods. And as you know, AIP is not just about dietary changes. We've addressed social support, we've addressed chronic stress, and now I'd like you to think about how you can incorporate more movement into your day-to-day life. I know it can be tough when you're in pain or you're suffering from fatigue to think about exercise, but you don't have to join a gym and run on a treadmill or do any of these crazy machines, or you don't have to do any of that. All you have to do is incorporate more movement into your everyday activities of daily life. And that's probably more beneficial than walking on a treadmill for 30-45 minutes. Just if you're stuck at a desk, you know, try to get up and take a bathroom break every hour or every hour and a half and use the bathroom on the furthest side of the building. Don't circle the parking lot to get the space closest to the store. Park further away, and you know, there's so many little things you can do to incorporate more movement in your everyday life. You could get a job as a bartender. Never have to worry about exercise again. Seriously though. Yoga is also really nice. Mild activities. You don't want to create a flare-up by doing something like training for warriors, or I love kickboxing, or, you know, CrossFit. Ease into that. See what you can tolerate. And most importantly of all, just get some movement into your life. It doesn't have to be so structured. And that's it for baby step 4. So now you've got your protein ready, waiting for you in the freezer, a couple of delicious sauces, and you're thinking about how you can incorporate more movement into your everyday life. If you want to see more behind the scenes type stuff, or what I bought at the grocery store, or what I'm making for dinner, and things like that, what I'm working on for the channel, I post clips to Lens all the time. It's a feature of Patreon, but it is free to the public, so you don't have to be a patron to view the clips. If you are a $2 patron, I also post Patreon exclusive recipe videos once a month, but anybody can view my little clips, so that's another source of day-to-day inspiration. I hope this video was helpful to you, and I hope to see you soon in step 5, and until then, be healthy.